Before these little cars became global icons, they were nothing more than a chaotic gamble stitched together behind the scenes. Because the truth is this, the legendary Mini Coopers of the Italian job were never meant to shine. They were old models disguised as new ones, rejected by their own manufacturer, and nearly replaced by a fleet of tiny Fiats. And buried beneath all that style and swagger lies a chain of secrets wilder than anything that made it into the film. So here's the real question. Why did every single Mini in the movie wear a fake identity? What pushed an entire production crew to smuggle cars across borders like criminals in their own heist movie? And what happened to the 6 mysterious survivors that vanished after filming? Cars that collectors today would trade fortunes for? But the most mind-bending mystery of all is the one at the edge of a cliff, an ending so iconic yet so physically impossible that even the filmmakers had to cheat reality itself just to pull it off. Strap in. Because in this video, we're cracking open the classified file behind the world's most mischievous getaway cars. This is the untold story. 18 bizarre truths Hollywood tried very hard to hide. Number 18. The Great Identity Switch. Our investigation begins with a deception so subtle that most viewers never notice it, yet bold enough to rewrite the very identity of every Mini Cooper in the film. Despite what the story claims, none of the cars in the Italian job were actually 1969 models. Not one. Every Mini tearing across Turin was, in reality, a 1967 Mark Western Cooper S, or a dressed-up imitation. To hide this inconvenient truth, the production created an entire fleet of fabricated license plates, every single one stamped with a G suffix, the official marker of a 1969 registration in the UK. On screen, it looked perfect. In reality, it was a carefully orchestrated illusion. Why go to such lengths? Because the newer Mark II Minis, the real 1969 versions, had noticeable cosmetic differences. Different grille, different headlights, different silhouette. The filmmakers wanted the timeless Mark look, and they were willing to cheat the calendar to get it. And so the chase began with a lie, cars pretending to be newer than they were, wearing identities that never existed. It was the first layer of movie magic and the first cover-up in a long list of secrets. Number 17. BMC's big mistake. Long before the Minis roared through Italy, the production team made a polite request to British Motor Corporation, the company behind the Mini. Could you support the film with a few cars? BMC didn't just decline. They dismissed the entire project as foolish. Executives believed the script sounded ridiculous. British criminals using tiny Minis to pull off a high-stakes gold heist, racing through sewers, jumping across rooftops. They assumed the film would be an embarrassing flop that might even damage the Mini brand. So they refused to provide a single car, not one. What they didn't realize was that their no would become one of the most expensive misjudgments in automotive marketing history. When the Italian job exploded in popularity, the Mini became a global pop culture icon. Sales skyrocketed. The cars in the film became legends. And BMC, they were left watching from the sidelines, knowing they could have owned the spotlight for free. Ironically, their refusal forced the production to buy Minis out of pocket, setting off a chain of desperate improvisations that would shape the entire film. Number 16. The Fiat takeover that almost happened. When news spread that BMC had refused to supply cars, another manufacturer saw an opportunity: Fiat. And unlike BMC, Fiat came prepared with an offer so generous it bordered on unbelievable. They told the filmmakers, use Fiat 500s instead. We'll give you as many as you need, for free. Not loan, not discount, completely free. Dozens of cars plus mechanics, technical support, additional drivers, anything the production wanted. On paper, it made perfect sense. An Italian film shot in Italy using Italian cars. Fiat was ready to bankroll the entire automotive side of the movie. All the director had to do was swap the Minis for Fiats. But Peter Collinson refused without hesitation. To him, The minis weren't just props, they were characters. The charm, the humor, the audacity of the heist depended on the unmistakable Britishness of those tiny cars invading Turin. Fiat kept sweetening the deal, but the director held his ground. And because of that stubbornness, or genius, the world got one of the most iconic car ensembles in film history. Yet it's haunting to imagine a parallel universe where the entire chase was done with Fiat 500s. Cinema history would look very different. Number 15, the Swiss Shadow Deal. With BMC refusing to participate and Fiat's proposal firmly rejected, the production was cornered. They needed more minis, far more than the 6 they had managed to purchase at cost, and so began one of the strangest procurement operations in movie history. The breakthrough came from an unlikely source, BMC's Swiss distributor. For reasons still debated today, the Swiss branch had access to 25 used minis that were nowhere to be found in the UK. Maybe Switzerland had different regulations, maybe their distributor was more cooperative, or maybe someone simply didn't ask too many questions. What matters is this: the film crew suddenly found themselves orchestrating a miniature international import scheme. They transported the cars from Switzerland to Italy, dealing with stacks of paperwork, customs checks, and insurance headaches, all for vehicles they fully intended to crash, drown, or destroy on camera. It felt less like prepping a film and more like staging an actual heist. And fittingly, the minis arrived not as glamorous movie stars, but as battered workhorses waiting to be sacrificed for cinema. These Swiss minis would become the backbone of the fleet and the silent heroes behind the chaos to come. Number 14, the Cooper S illusion. Here's a truth that shocks even die-hard Mini enthusiasts. Only 10 of the minis used in the Italian job were actual Cooper S models. The rest? Ordinary 848cc minis masquerading as high-performance machines. To pull off the illusion, the crew spent weeks transforming everyday grocery-getter minis into convincing Cooper S replicas. They swapped wheels, added sportier grills, slapped on badges, stripes, and trim pieces. Anything to maintain the illusion that every Mini in the film was a top-tier performer. But beneath the surface, the difference was enormous. The real Cooper S models produced 76 horsepower. The standard Minis? Just 34, less than half. This forced the production into a strange balancing act. The real Cooper S cars handled the high-speed stunts and precision maneuvers, while the weaker fakes were assigned to the dangerous tasks, the crashes, rolls, and destruction shots. It was a mechanical sleight of hand, a cinematic magic trick hidden in plain sight. And if you rewatch the film closely, you can spot the inconsistencies: uneven acceleration, mismatched exhaust notes, slight differences in stance. Hollywood didn't just cast actors, it cast cars pretending to be other cars. Number 13, the Turin Massacre. By the end of filming, the streets of Turin had witnessed a mechanical bloodbath, unlike anything in British cinema. Out of the entire fleet of minis used for the Italian job, 16 were officially declared unroadworthy, a polite industry term that really means so destroyed they might as well be scrap metal. These weren't gentle dings or cosmetic bruises. Cars were rolled down hillsides, smashed into walls, flung off ramps, and submerged in rivers. Some didn't survive a single stunt. Others limped through a few scenes before meeting their final blow in a cloud of dust, oil, and shattered steel. The philosophy of the production was brutally simple. The shot mattered more than the machine. If a Mini needed to crash through a barrier, they sent it. If a Mini had to tumble into the river, they pushed it. No faking, no CGI, no shortcuts. And yet, out of this carnage came something remarkable. Every wrecked Mini built the visual chaos that made the film legendary. They sacrificed themselves for the sake of cinematic immortality. Tiny warriors that gave their lives so the audience could feel every jolt, jump, and collision. The Turin massacre wasn't just destruction. It was the price of art. Number 12. The Six Ghosts. Amid all the twisted steel and shattered glass, only 6 minis survived the making of the Italian Job. 6. And here's the twist. None of them were the prized Cooper S models. Every survivor was an 848cc fake, a humble stand-in dressed to look important. When production wrapped, no one bothered to document their identities. To the crew, these were just leftover props. Some believe they were sold to crew members for pocket change. Others say they were abandoned in Italy. A few rumors claim they were quietly driven back to the UK. But nobody kept records and nobody cared, at least not then. Today, those 6 survivors are the stuff of legend. If you could prove one to be screen used, collectors would claw over each other to own it. But with no paperwork, no VIN logs, no studio archives, the authenticity of any supposed Italian Job Mini is almost impossible to verify. Somewhere out there, in a barn, a workshop, or a forgotten garage, one of those 6 ghosts may still exist. A $1 million relic disguised as an ordinary old Mini. Number 11. The 40-year time capsule. After filming wrapped, the production crew dispersed, the Minis were written off, and the world moved on. Or so everyone thought. Hidden deep inside a storage garage on the outskirts of Turin, a treasure trove lay untouched for more than 4 decades, forgotten by the crew, unknown to the public, and sealed away by dust and silence. The garage was discovered in 2011, and inside lay the remains of the original stunt fleet, bent door panels, battered bonnets, twisted suspension parts, rusted shells, even fragments of number plates used in the movie. Many pieces were instantly recognizable thanks to their unique mounting points, custom straps, or film-specific modifications. This wasn't a junk pile. It was a cinematic archaeological site. Imagine opening a door and finding the automotive equivalent of Pompeii, time frozen in rust and decay. These were the physical echoes of scenes burned into pop culture history. Parts of 3 different Minis were positively identified, but the rest, a chaotic jigsaw puzzle of wreckage that hinted there might have been even more cars involved than official records ever admitted. The Turin time capsule didn't just reveal forgotten parts. It reignited the greatest mystery of the Italian Job. Number 10. The fake plate scandal. Every Mini in the Italian Job wore plates that looked authentic, period correct, and perfectly British. But the truth, not a single one of them was real. None of the number plates used in the film were assigned to actual vehicles in the UK registry. They were invented, pure fiction approved only for cinematic use. The production had to request special permission because forging plates is illegal in Britain. But they needed combinations that looked real without matching real drivers. Imagine being a Mini owner and suddenly getting speeding tickets for a crime committed by your car's identical twin in a movie. The iconic G suffix on each plate helped sell the illusion that the Minis were brand new 1969 models, despite being older cars in disguise. The letter and number sequences were crafted carefully to avoid accidental duplicates. Today, these fake plates have taken on a life of their own. Fans reproduce them for car shows, collectors frame them, and replica companies sell thousands. They were fake in 1969, and somehow they become even more valuable now. Number 9. The differential disaster. For a film built on precision driving and mechanical stunt work, The Italian Job contains one of the most embarrassing technical blunders in automotive cinema. In one scene, a mechanic casually mentions replacing the differential on a Mini Cooper. Sounds believable, unless you actually know how a Mini works. Classic Minis are front-wheel drive. They don't have a rear differential. There's nothing to replace. This wasn't a tiny oversight. It was a fundamental misunderstanding slipped into a script surrounded by real Minis, real mechanics, and real engineers. No one caught it. Not the writers, not the director, not the actors, not even the stunt team who worked with these cars daily. How did the line survive, scripting, filming, and editing without a single person raising an eyebrow? It has baffled many purists for more than 50 years. To this day, fans turn the mistake into a running joke. Take a shot every time the film gets many mechanics wrong. By the time the chase begins, you'd be under the table. It's a reminder that even legendary films aren't immune to simple human error, sometimes monumental, sometimes hilarious. Number 8. The gold weight impossibility. The heart of the Italian Job is the gold heist. 3 minis racing through Turin, each stuffed with stolen bullion. Visually, it's perfect. Physically, it's nonsense. In 1969, $4 million worth of gold weighed roughly 4 tons. Split among 3 minis, that's about 1.3 tons per car. A classic Mini Cooper S has a maximum payload of roughly 600–700 pounds. In other words, each Mini in the film would have been carrying twice its structural limit, before adding passengers, stunt gear, or the violent driving the script demanded. In real life, the suspension would collapse instantly. The tires would burst. The chassis would bend like soft metal. The minis wouldn't blast through Turin. They'd sink into the pavement. Of course, the filmmakers knew this. The gold bars were painted wooden props, lightweight enough to toss around. But the illusion worked so well that generations of viewers accepted the impossible without question. It's a cinematic paradox. The entire climax relies on physics that simply cannot exist. Yet the scene remains iconic because the movie never asks your brain to analyze. It asks your imagination to believe. And sometimes, imagination wins. Number 7. The overbuilt Mini. For all their charm and agility, classic Minis were never designed for the brutal punishment the Italian Job demanded. The stunt team quickly realized that if they attempted half the planned maneuvers with unmodified cars, the Minis would fold like tin foil. So they rebuilt them, quietly, secretly, and heavily. Hidden beneath the familiar compact silhouette were reinforcements worthy of a military prototype. Steel beams welded into the chassis, strengthened suspension mounts, reinforced floors to withstand hard landings, roll cages tucked discreetly inside the cabin. Even the roof structures were rebuilt with internal bracing to survive rooftop impacts and sewer wall scrapes. The irony? Every ounce of reinforcement made the Minis heavier and less nimble, the exact opposite of what made them legendary. Some of the stunt Minis became so weighty that they struggled to reach highway speeds. Stunt drivers were forced to build momentum long before a take, praying the cameras wouldn't catch their sluggish acceleration. The cars on screen looked tiny, quick, and feather-light. Underneath, many of them were steel-packed bruisers fighting against physics just to stay in one piece. Number 6. The real Turin traffic chaos. One of the film's greatest secrets is that some of its most chaotic chase footage wasn't staged at all. It was real. The production had permission to shoot in Turin, but communication breakdowns meant the public wasn't always warned when streets would be closed. The result? Genuine Italian drivers suddenly found Minis swarming past them like angry bees. Many of the reactions you see, yelling, honking, wild gesturing, weren't scripted performances. They were authentic frustration from residents whose daily routines were ambushed by a British film crew, weaving through traffic, sidewalks, and shopping arcades at unsafe speeds. A few minor collisions happened when unsuspecting locals attempted to drive normally and ended up crossing paths with stunt Minis emerging from unexpected angles. The insurance team nearly melted down. Legal waivers had to be obtained retroactively from dozens of drivers who had no idea they had just appeared in a movie. These moments made it into the final cut because the footage was too good to waste. The realism you feel in the chase scenes isn't just brilliant filmmaking, it's genuine street-level chaos captured by accident. Number 5. The rooftop gamble. The rooftop jump is one of the most unforgettable moments in the Italian Job, a maneuver so reckless it borders on madness. But here's the truth. Almost no one outside the crew knew. The stunt team relied on a safety plan that was barely a plan at all. Beneath the gap between the two buildings, the crew positioned a truck filled not with airbags or professional crash mats, but with blocks of cheap polystyrene foam, essentially packing material. If the Mini missed the jump or landed short, the driver's fate depended on a mountain of glorified shipping peanuts. There was no way to rehearse the stunt properly. You can't practice a rooftop leap in a parking lot. The drivers had one chance, one shot, and one hope that the calculations were correct. Too much speed, and the Mini would slam into the opposite wall. Too little, and it would plummet into the foam truck below. One misalignment, and the car might roll off to the side entirely. During one attempt, a Mini landed so violently that it compressed the foam by several feet. The driver walked away, shaken but alive, while the suspension was destroyed beyond repair. It wasn't just a stunt. It was a leap of faith wrapped in steel. Number 4, the producer's escape plan. The stunts in the Italian Job were so dangerous that the production wasn't just worried about accidents, they were worried about prison. Under Italian law at the time, if someone died during filming, the producers could be held criminally responsible, not fined, not warned, arrested. Michael Dealey, the producer, took the threat seriously enough to prepare an escape plan. And this wasn't metaphorical. He reportedly kept cash, forged documents, and a getaway car ready. His route to the Swiss border was mapped out. Timing calculated, border checkpoints studied. If a stunt went fatally wrong, he planned to vanish before the authorities could react. Drivers were injured, cars were destroyed, and multiple stunts veered dangerously off script. Each day brought new risks. The tension wasn't just on camera, it lived in every production meeting, every briefing, every moment before a stunt coordinator yelled, "Action!" That no one died is genuinely miraculous. But the existence of a literal escape plan shows just how close the film came to catastrophe. The production wasn't just choreographing car chases, they were dancing on the edge of disaster. Number 3, the continuity collapse. For a film that looks so clean on screen, the Italian Job was held together behind the scenes with chaos, tape, and desperate improvisation. Nowhere is this more obvious than in the Mini continuity fiasco. Watch closely and you'll notice it. The same Mini changes shape, color, interior, and even stripes from one shot to the next. A red Mini with a white interior suddenly has a black interior in the next angle. A pristine door becomes dented, then magically repairs itself, then shows a completely different dent 2 scenes later. Racing stripes shift position, thickness, and alignment as if they were alive and moving on their own. Why? Because the production kept destroying cars faster than they could track them. Any Mini that could still move, even if limping, was pushed into the next shot. The team grabbed whatever car wasn't completely wrecked and hoped the audience wouldn't notice. For decades, fans have treated these inconsistencies like an Easter egg hunt, but really, they're the scars of a film held together by sheer determination rather than continuity logs. Number 2, the hunt for the lost Minis. The discovery of the Turin garage reignited a question that has haunted collectors for years. How many original Minis are still out there? The officially recorded numbers never quite added up. And when experts analyzed the recovered parts in 2011, things got even stranger. Some components belonged to cars that were supposedly destroyed beyond recovery. Yet the parts were intact, suggesting the chassis they came from may have survived. The lamp bars and bonnet straps matched the film's hero cars, but the inventory hinted at more Minis being used than the studio ever admitted. Rumors spread quickly. One story claims a complete Italian Job Mini sits in a private Swiss collection, hidden away by an owner unwilling to provide proof. Another whispers about a barn in northern Italy containing a dust-covered survivor. A Japanese collector is rumored to own one as well, though no verification has ever surfaced. Every few years, someone steps forward claiming they found the real one. Most turn out to be replicas with one or two genuine parts attached, fragments of the truth, but never the entire car. That's why the search continues. The holy grail of Mini collectors may still be waiting to be found. Number 1. The impossible balance. The final shot of the Italian Job is etched into cinematic history. A bus perched on a cliff edge, the gold sliding dangerously toward the abyss, the crew frozen in panic. It's brilliant, iconic, and completely impossible. The Harrington Legionnaire bus used in the film weighed around 7 tons empty. Add 3 minis, roughly another 3 tons, and then the gold, which should weigh 4 tons. In total, more than 14 tons of steel and cargo teetering on a razor's edge. Except physics doesn't work that way. With that much mass behind the rear axle, the bus wouldn't sit at a delicate balance. It would either tip backward entirely or pull itself forward to safety. There is no middle ground in real-world mechanics. The filmmakers tried. They tested real buses on real slopes. They added weight, shifted angles, tried customized setups. Every attempt failed. The bus simply refused to balance the way the story demanded. So they cheated. Brilliantly. A massive crane hidden just out of frame held the bus in place. Steel cables locked the vehicle at the perfect cinematic angle. Even the gold's dramatic sliding motion was done using hidden tracks with wires pulling the bars. The actors were never in danger because the bus was effectively bolted to thin air. The result was an illusion so perfect that audiences believed it for generations. A finale built entirely on the beautiful lie of cinema. Before we close this case file of madness, here's a question worth asking. Which of these bizarre truths shocked you the most? And before you tell us, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell, because we're far from done uncovering the secrets behind cinema's most legendary machines. Now let's leave this story where it ends, on a cliff, held in place by cables, illusions, and pure creative audacity. The Italian Job didn't just feature minis, it transformed them. A rejected car with no studio support, a machine the manufacturer didn't even want in the film, became a global symbol of rebellion, humor, and stylish British bravado. The movie reinvented the Mini's cultural identity, turning 3 tiny cars into immortal icons. Those destroyed shells, those 6 mysterious survivors, the garage frozen in time, the rumors of hidden originals scattered across Europe, all of it becomes part of a larger mythos that grows richer every year. And maybe that's the real magic. Cinema doesn't preserve machines, it gives them a second life. The minis of the Italian Job didn't just outrun police, squeeze through traffic, or leap rooftops. They outran time itself. Decades later, they're still racing through memory, nostalgia, and the legends we continue to chase.